Yo, what's up, guys? Doing a UFC UAE breakdown and predictions video. We're going to break down every fight on the card, so let's get into it. First fight of the night, we got Martin Buday taking on Marcus Buchecha, and every jiu-jitsu nerd's eyes lit up when they saw the UFC announce the signing of Buchecha. It seemed inevitable the time would come that he'd join the UFC when he did decide to cross over to MMA in 2020, and obviously the time is now. In jiu-jitsu, I mean, he accomplished more than arguably anyone. He won basically every major tournament you could think of. ADCC, he won IBJJF gi and no gi. He won in Abu Dhabi several times, so he's used to being out here in the Middle East. And I think he was 138 wins in jiu-jitsu and less than 15 losses. And he's competed against almost every big name in the jiu-jitsu world. Fought recognizable names to UFC fans like Dean Lister, Antonio Braga Neto, Gilbert Burns, Cron Gracie, Rodolfo Vieira, and he beat all those guys. And then in MMA, he signed with one, and he's 5-1 in his first six fights, all with one championship. His first fight was in 2021, so he hasn't been fighting for even 4 years, but he looks good. I mean, all his wins are first round finishes. He beat a couple good fighters like Amir Alakbari, like Kirill Grashenko. In the one fight, he couldn't get his opponent out of there in round one. He did lose a decision, though, to Rugrug. And Rugrug, though, if you guys know who he is, he's a physical specimen. He just went on to beat Anatoly Malikin. So Malikin was the champion. Now Rugrug is the champion at one. So that loss isn't a bad loss. Malikin is a guy that's dominated RDR on multiple occasions, so the fact Rugrug beat him shows that, that loss aged well for Buchecha, like I said. And Buchecha, he last fought in November, so he hasn't fought this year, but he got a submission win over Amir Alakbari, who's a former Olympian. And the UFC isn't necessarily throwing him in the deep end, but they're giving him a respectable guy, a guy with a lot of experience, 6-1 UFC record, Martin Buday, pretty impressive record, and he's flown under the radar. He's 15-2 overall. His one loss in the last 7 years was to Shamil Gaziev, the GOAT, and he's won two fights in a row, has one of the best records currently for the heavyweight in the company, but he's been fighting relatively bad competition, and I don't think the UFC is sold on him or wants him to be one of the top guys in the promotion. I guess you could say Buchecha is a big name to hardcore fans, but he isn't really a crossover name to the casuals, in my opinion. He's never fought in the UFC. So, obviously, a win for Buchecha gets his name out there, gets him in the UFC, and then people talking about him. For Martin Buday, if he gets this win, it's not going to be probably seen as highly as it should be, just because of Buchecha's never having a UFC fight. But this would be a huge win for him, and probably get him ranked. But you look at stylistically, Buchecha, I mean, the guy's a unique challenge for anyone. He's an athletic heavyweight for one. He's not one of these unathletic jiu-jitsu fighters, and he's super skilled in one area. I mean, in heavyweight, there's a lot of guys that aren't super skilled, so if you have elite skills on the ground like a Buchecha, you can go far. And he isn't a jiu-jitsu guy who has no wrestling ability either. He has a fast double leg, pretty explosive, and he can get you down with his wrestling. And when he's on top, he has good ground and pound. His transitions for a heavyweight are amazing. He could jump on the back so quickly. And he's earned multiple different submission wins. He's gotten a north-south choke, rear naked choke, heel hook. He fought a black belt in Simon Carson and tried to submit him a couple times and then pounded him out with punches after he failed that. And his fight with Kurgashenko, he shot in from super far out, pulled guard, immediately went for the heel hook and ended the fight, which that's scary if you're a heavyweight, seeing him be able to do that. But he showed he had incredible heart in his fight with Rugrug, but his stand-up is still definitely a work in progress. He's really only shown that he's light on his feet, he has good speed, fairly composed. His kicks aren't bad, and he proved he was a fighter against Rugrug. He took some major damage, and he was throwing back. He was the one trying to win the fight in the dying seconds, throwing hard. And he showed a chin. He landed some 1-2s, and he got some dominant positions in that fight and almost submitted Rugrug, but Rugrug was strong, explosive, and got out of it. And you saw that really fatigued Buchecha. But most guys, they're not going to be able to do that. I mean, I think that's a real anomaly to see a guy be able to defend the submissions from Buchecha and then get back up to his feet just off sheer raw athletic ability and strength. But, Buchecha, style-wise, I think he can evolve into a better version of like an Antonio Carlos Jr. shoe face, if you remember him from back in the day. Obviously, he's bigger. And I think that he could become a player in this division. It's just going to be if he gets the right matchups and things like that. And I do think this is actually a harder matchup than some other guys that probably would be seen as better fighters in the eyes of the fans. Because Martin Buday, he's a 265-pound lumberer, real plotty on the feet. I mean, I don't think he's posing much of a threat standing outside of maybe leg kicks and Buchecha gassing, and then maybe Martin just putting some sloppy volume on him. But what he does have is a good grappling background and size. And Buchecha is like 230. I guess he's not 230. I take that back. I don't know exactly. I can't remember what he weighed at the weigh-ins, but he's bigger than that. But either way, he's the smaller guy. And Buday likes to put people on the fence and hold him there. And if he could just put Buchecha on the cage, hold him there, get him tired, I mean, that's a path to victory for him. He doesn't have to take him down and put him on his back and deal with the jiu-jitsu. And then on the feet, if he could just defend some takedowns early, he probably will be able to start pressuring Buchecha up against the fence. But if Buchecha gets one takedown, the fight could definitely be over. I think Buchecha is more athletic. I think he's even better in the stand-up too. So if he wants to do anything with his career in MMA, he needs to go out there and dominate a guy like Martin Buday, get him out of there. So Martin Buday currently has 100% takedown defense, but Buchecha has to go out there. He has to break that 100% rate, get Buday on his back, and submit him. So I'm going to say Buchecha first round sub here in this fight. The next fight that we got on the card is Stephen Nguyen versus Muhammad Yahya. And Muhammad Yahya, I mean, he's a guy that probably wouldn't even be in the UFC right now if it wasn't for him being a UAE born and bred fighter. And he's had a couple opportunities in the Middle East already. Both of them didn't go good. But now he's taking on Stephen Nguyen, who's coming off a year-long layoff, who's 0-2 in UFC competitions. So both these guys have not really been looking the greatest. But you look at Stephen Nguyen, he's tall, long, lanky for 145. He has good pressure, good boxing. He is loose with his hands. He throws nice jabs, nice crosses. When he backs fighters up and lets his hands go, he can hurt you. He has nice flow, nice chopping calf kicks. And he has a good high guard, so he could block strikes, stick in the pocket, return with his own. But his head movement is pretty non-existent. And I don't think he's the best with his kicking defense either. But he has good footwork. He could slide in and out of range. He could put those straights on you. He's clean. He can crack pretty well. Nice hooks, nice uppercuts. If you stand in front of Nguyen, he's going to probably take you out. You need to stick and move, use feints, dart in, dart out. You can move and pull Nguyen into straight shots. He also has had issues with strikes up the middle, like knees, uppercuts. And he really struggled with calf kicks versus Jarno Aarons. And when he was less mobile, Aarons was in and out on him. He was the more powerful striker. It was a close fight. Both fighters are busted up, but clear victory for Aarons. And then Nguyen looked like a strong grappler. He hasn't really fought great competition in that department, but he has average takedown defense. It looks like he has decent scrambles, sweeps. Isn't an offensive wrestler, though. And then Muhammad Yahya, he's a striker. He stands upright so he could kick. He looks fast. He isn't fast with his feet, but he's fast with his kicks and his hands. And he has nice counter knees as well. His last win, he landed a 6 straight right hand in round 1 that dropped his opponent. and that and his counter knees are definitely his best strikes. He's one of those fighters that can wear a lot of damage too and then come back. So he has a lot of fights where he's losing and then gets the victory. And he has knockout power. He has durability. He was definitely the smaller guy at 155. So him moving down to 145 for this fight could potentially be effective for him if it doesn't drain him too bad. And one thing for Yaya, though, that he has to address in this fight is the calf kicks. Nguyen throws hard calf kicks. And even though Nguyen has had issues with calf kicks himself, he's more active throwing them than Yaya, and Yaya has shown bad leg kick defense as well. Yaya also has suspect grappling skills. If I was Steven Nguyen, I would look to mix it up, and I don't know if Nguyen will, but at 155, Yaya would get bullied. He'd get taken down pretty easy. Maybe at 145, his takedown defense will be a little better, but I'm not sure about that. And he's a decent scrambler, but he gives his back to stand up. If Muhammad Yahya wins this fight, I think it's going to be from a one-shot knockout. He has great power. He only needs one, but he just doesn't throw a lot of offense. And I think this is kind of fight where you have to pick Steven to win because he has the edge in every area. If he was smart, he's punch his way into takedowns and make it a clear victory. He has a chance to land a big strike on Yahya and hurt him as well. But Yahya has a chance to land a big knee or a big cross and put Nguyen to sleep, though. And if he wins, I think it is going to be through like a one-shot, highlight reel type of knockout. It'll really get the fans going, but I'm going to personally predict Steven Nguyen gets on that leg kick, starts chopping Yahya, gets him kind of into a defensive shell, and either knocks him out or decisions him in this fight. So give me Steven Nguyen to get the job done in that one. And up next here, we got Ibn Aslan. He's going to be taking on Billy Ilakina, and Ilakina's second UFC fight, this time under way better circumstances. His debut was on, I believe, like 3 days' notice. He fought someone that's inside the top 15 at 205 in Bogdan Goskov, and he moved up to 205 for that fight. Previously, he was fighting at 185, but I guess he's decided to stay there now. And he's 7-2 overall in his career. Kind of got thrown in the deep end right away. I mean, these aren't the hardest names in the world with Bogdan Guskov and Ibn Aslan, but for a young prospect, it's really tough competition. And this fight's kind of a crossroads fight for Ilakina because if he wins, maybe he'll stick around at 205, be, a top 15-ish type of guy. If he loses, he's probably going to drop back down to 185 and have a lot of pressure on himself in his next fight. But Ibn Aslan, major letdown spot versus Iwan Kutelaba. He was building some serious momentum. He had 2 knockouts in his first 2 UFC fights. He had a knockout on the Contender Series to earn his UFC contract. And he got matched with longtime UFC gatekeeper Iwan Kutelaba. And Kutelaba exposed him a little bit. Aslan was whooping Kutelaba on the feet, but he gave up a takedown and the fight was over. He got arm triangled in the first round, snapped his 6-fight winning streak. And now he has to get back on the horse, beat this prospect, and retain his status as one of the best guys not in the top 15 at 205. But style-wise, Billy Ilakina, long southpaw. He likes to probe, hand fight with the lead hand, move around, look to pull fighters into the straight lefts, mixes in low kicks, front teeps to the body, head kicks. He moves pretty well and just tries to use his kicks, length, defense, patience to draw fighters out, and then use his speed to counter. And obviously these are big guys, so if Billy lands hard, he could hurt you, but he isn't a big power hitter. Normally he's a little low volume. He doesn't throw more than one a lot of the time, so he can be a little boring. But when he throws, he has good offense. He just doesn't have the greatest footwork or ability to cut the cage off, so he has to rely on fighters coming to him, or it's pretty difficult for him. But in the clinch, I would say he's pretty good there with elbows, knees. As fights go on, if he could chip away and keep the fight at a lower pace, he normally can pull away from guys that try to take him down when they slow down, but he got super tired and quit in his last fight, and he's kind of been an iffy proposition whenever the fights go to the scorecards, so he's not like a cardio machine either. And Ilakina, solid takedown defense if you shoot on his upper body. He's strong, he has good balance. And he's good at kind of freeing himself against the fence and then getting back to space. He showed good back control in his last fight. He was able to get the back pretty quickly in the beginning of the fight and controlled it for the majority of the first round. But when Guskov reversed and got his back, he almost finished Elikina. And Elikina looked super gassed. And basically, he showed some toughness, but he got frozen with body shots against the cage and then just kind of gave up. He was posturing as if he wanted to keep fighting, but stayed on his knees, gave up the choke when Guskov went for it. And right now, Elikina is good when he fights a wrestler or fighter who struggles to close the distance and doesn't move well. If he could just pot shot you with minimal strikes, he can win that way. He could stuff wrestlers' shots and then outstrike them when they're tired too. And he'll look to put strikers on the fence and control them with his clinch control. But ultimately, I wouldn't say Elikina is great at anything or overly dangerous. He also showed his last fight he has some quit in him. So he's on fraud alert here, but he's athletic. He trains with a good gym. He doesn't have a ton of fights, so you could see big improvements from him every time out. And you look at Ibo Aslan, technical brawler. He's a powerful, explosive guy. He has one-shot knockout power. Likes to stay tight, keep his hands high, maintain the center. He'll rip hard low kicks, throw the jab, and if you get in a range with him, he just unloads with heavy hooks. He has power moving backwards as well. So if you blitz him, he can hurt you even off the back foot. In almost all his wins, he's hit someone and they've fallen down. He's gotten 12 first-round knockout wins, and he definitely slows down as fights go on as well. His last fight, he defended some takedowns, but when he got put on his back, he got taken out and arm triangled pretty quickly. I feel as if he should be able to keep this fight standing with Elikina, and he has to walk down Elikina and try to force pocket exchanges, but this fight is fairly low level. I think it honestly could go either way. Ibo Aslan going to be looking to walk Elikina to the cage, force him to exchange, try to chop the legs to get him more stationary. Elikina needs to stab and grab. He needs to not try and run, but stay moving. Don't let himself get back to the fence. Use crosses, jabs, kicks to keep Aslan at bay. And if Aslan gets inside, clinch him up. And if he can get on top, I think Elikina has a good chance to submit Aslan. But I do expect it to be hard to find takedowns. Cardio-wise, both slow down. It's really a crapshoot. I mean, at the odds, I think Elikina's the side. I'm seeing people confident on Aslan. I'm kind of surprised by that. I don't think he should be minus 250 versus anybody. But I'm going to say Aslan first round knockout as just a pure prediction. And the next fight we got on the card, Amanda Hebos taking on Tabitha Ricci. And two fighters kind of just trying to steady themselves and get back on the horse. They're both coming off losses. Amanda, she's been really up and down performance-wise in the last few years. She's been fighting the who's who of multiple divisions, but she's just been inconsistent. She's been trading wins and losses since 2021, and recently she's just lost 2 in a row for the first time, and is 3 out of her last 4 she's lost. So she's starting to trend in the wrong direction, but whenever she loses, it's against top 5 fighters, and then she can beat most everyone else. So this fight, if she can't beat Tabitha Ricci, that would be the worst loss of her career, first 3-fight losing streak, and really put into question what she wants to do going forward. For Ricci, she laid a total egg in her last fight. She got the opportunity to jump up in rank, fight a former title challenger in Yan Xiaonan, and not only lost, but she just didn't really fight. She landed a grand total of 0 strikes in the first round and only landed 15 strikes over 15 minutes. Even when she tried to pick up the pace in round 3, it was too little too late. She had already taken damage. She had slowed down. Yan had the range already. And she threw 60 attempts, which is more than she threw in the first 2 rounds combined, but only landed 7 strikes. And before that fight, Ricci had won 2 in a row. She'd beaten some mini legends and Angela Hill, Tisha Pennington. This fight is going to show us, though, whether Ricci is truly top 10 material or not. And, yeah, style-wise, Tabitha Ricci, athletic, well-rounded fighter. She's fast when she's fresh. She brings pressure. She'll throw nice 3-2s, 2-3s. Good at closing the distance with a straight right. And she'll push a hard pace. Her defense is pretty good. She'll feint, move her head a lot. She tries to stay mobile. She does do a lot of unnecessary movements and feints when she's way too far out or is moving her head like when there's no way she's even in range to get hit, which it gets her tired and slows her down. She needs to be more efficient with her energy, but she does have good speed, and her defense technically is good. I mean, she's doing the right things. It's just she has to know when she can rest and when she has to be extremely locked in. But her last fight, she didn't take any risks, like I said, but she landed over 100 significant strikes in 2 of her last 4 wins. So I think she needs to go back to that similar type of output to beat Hebos. And her last fight, it was speed versus speed. Ricci was just trying to time a takedown and was too slow. This fight, I think she is going to have a pretty major speed advantage. And Ricci, she is a grappler first. She'll clinch fighters up against the fence, hit trips, throws. Her wrestling is kind of ineffective at the higher level, though. It's hasn't been that good. But she tends to move into the body lock position, try to get takedowns from that 50-50. She's more efficient with her takedowns when she times level changes, but she just hasn't been able to hold down fighters in the UFC, really. The ones that she has held down have accepted bottom position. And with Amanda, I don't think she's going to really be able to take her down and hold her down. And I think she should honestly come in with a game plan to try to strike and use her speed. And if the takedowns are there easy, maybe like at the end of a round to steal it or to solidify it, you could time a double, go for it. But don't make that a major part of your game plan. For Amanda, she's a pressure fighter. She isn't that tall for the division, but she stands upright and has long arms, long legs. She walks you down, tries to pick and pull you. She'll feint, fake, try to draw to offense with her kicks, her jabs, and then she looks to counter with the left hook or a blitz combination. She struggles against fighters who move and don't stand in front of her, though. She'll try to cut off the cage with kicks, but she's a plotter, and if you can dart in, dart out, you can connect on her. When she's fighting going backwards, she's very hittable because her chin is super high in the air. And her chin has cost her in some fights, but she's shown now at 125, I feel she could wear the damage better. Now back at 115, we'll see. But Ricci isn't someone that really you have to worry about knocking you out too much. But in this fight, I think she has to use her kicks. She can't be in boxing range. She's going to be the slower girl. So if Hebos uses her kicks to intercept Ricci as she's trying to close the distance and then cut her off, put her against the fence, things like that, I think she could have success. And Hebos can mix it up, go for takedowns. Her takedown defense is solid as well, so I think that she could shut down the wrestling of Ricci. And I feel like if she gets on top, she can control. If Ricci gets on top, I think it's going to be harder for her to control. And Ribas should have that edge in the cardio. But honestly, this fight could go either way as well. It's probably a pass fight. Ricci's the dog, so if you want to go dog or pass, go with Ricci. But Ribas is going to be slower. I think if she can get in her range and get her kicks going before it's too late, she can land the more damaging strikes, though. And maybe force a bad takedown from Ricci, get on top, bank around that way. If Ricci's in great shape, maybe sits down and threatens with some more heat, she can get it done. But I just don't have a great read on this fight, honestly. But my prediction is going to be Amanda Hebos via decision. Next fight we got on the card, amazing fight right here between Davy Grant and Damon Blackshear, two of the best guys that, in my opinion, aren't in the rankings at 135. Blackshear, he is looking to win his 4th fight in a row on Saturday. He's been one of the most active bantamweights in the UFC. He's already 2-0 so far this year. His level of competition in his 3-fight winning streak has been kind of mid, but he's been dominating the fights, and this is a step up of competition, but it's a must-win for Blackshear if he wants to keep himself in the mix. He's fighting a guy who's game, but 39 years old, and Blackshear, if he can beat someone who's respected like Davy Grant, he's going to be in a position to call out someone in the top 10, but if he loses, he's going to fall probably top 30-ish. I mean, way outside the top 15, but Davy Grant finally set for his fight, his first fight of 2025. He was going to fight in April. He was all ready to go, but his opponent pulled out really close to fight day. And I guess either Grant wanted to take some time off after a hard training camp, or UFC couldn't find him a fight that quickly, but it's been 3 months since then. He is getting a unique opportunity to fight in the UAE, though, which is as a veteran with not many fights left, is a pretty cool perk. And he's getting a difficult but winnable matchup with a lot to gain if he could pull it off. And he's a guy who's not been super active, so even though he's 39, that age is a little deceiving. I mean, he has 3 less fights than Damon Blackshear, and since November of 2021, he's only fought 5 times, and he's been very competitive in every fight. I mean, you could argue that he's 5-0 because both of his losses were split decisions in very close fights, and they were against Adrian Yanez and Daniel Marcos, 2 high-level operators. But the 2 fights they gave him around guys his age, Rafael Assunção, Luis Smokey, he smoked them and finished them. But now he's coming off of a win over a younger guy in Ramon Tavares, so we'll see how many more wins he has left in him. But I think personally the line doesn't make any sense on this fight. Blackshear on the feet, I think, is going to be in some trouble with Grant. He has some sharp offense. He could land some stuff. He has nice body kicks, good at using his body kicks, front kicks, round kicks to disguise the knees to the face. He has a good check hook, good straight overhand right. His jab is nice, but he stands heavy on his lead leg, and he tends to shell up when fighters throw combinations on him. And Grant is going to be pressing him. He's going to be throwing leg kicks. I think that Grant is going to find success going to the body, and then he could loop around Blackshear's guards with his power punches. He can go uppercuts. And I think Grant is a really underrated fighter to me. On the feet, he throws a ton of volume. He's always switching stances, exceptional pressure, elite chin, elite power. He throws a lot of kicks to all parts of the body. He has nice switch stance blitz attacks. He's throwing from odd angles. On the feet, I think it will be competitive, but I kind of slightly favor Davey Grant, and I know Grant is the more durable guy. I mean, I've seen Damon Blackshear get sparked out cold by Montel Jackson with one punch. If Davey Grant connects flush like that, he could put him out too. So I think he has the durability advantage, Davey Grant. Volume-wise, I think he can outmatch Blackshear there as well, if not easily match him. But Damon Blackshear in his last fight, for whatever reason, didn't take one shot. And he has to mix it up here, I think, to cover his price tag. Davey Grant, since making his comeback, he got taken down in fights with Rafael Assunção and Cheeto. Vera did a lot of damage on top, had good control, but he looked good with the scrambles and get-ups versus Assunção. And Assunção was likely going to get the win over Davey Grant, though, if Grant didn't find that Hail Mary submission. But I don't know if I see Blackshear in a takedown, though. I mean, his setups for his takedowns are not good. He usually needs to get in the clinch. I don't think Grant's going to give him that. I think it's going to be a stand-up fight. And Blackshear has the speed and size, but if Davey can keep the pressure, keep the defense tight early, go to the legs, go to the body, eventually go to the head, hey, I think he can get the win here. Give me Davey Grant by knockout round 2. And next fight on the card, Muslim Salikov taking on Carlos Leal. And this is a really good fight. I feel like Muslim, he's underrated because of his age, and he's still a good fighter, though. He's very sharp on the feet. He's going to have the edge in the stand-up, obviously. We've seen Carlos Leal fight guys like Sada Busi and things like that who can keep the range. They can kind of jab him or catch him as he's coming in, and they've had some success. But Leal has a chin of granite. He's going to keep the pressure on you. He's going to be throwing power. And then most importantly, he's going to be looking for takedowns. And I think that it could be competitive early on, but Muslim, one thing about him that I don't like is I think he's a little chinny. So Leal at any point could potentially come over the top, land a big hook, big overhand, rock Muslim, use that to get a takedown and finish him on top or even knock him out. And then I think if Leal could keep the pressure on Muslim, maybe walk through some big punches, big kicks, avoid those crazy spins, and then eventually time some takedowns, Muslim will get tired. But Salikov, if he can get his range early, stuff some takedowns, and make it a stand-up fight where he has good read on the distance, he's going to have a good chance to pull the upset. But I just think it's Leal's time. I think he's going to be able to implement his pressure, power punching into takedowns type of game plan and get Muslim tired and either finish him or win a pretty clear dominant decision in that fight. Next matchup we have here, Bryce Mitchell. He's going to be taking on Said Nurmagomedov. And yeah, man, Bryce Mitchell dropping down to 135 for the first time in over 10 years. And he had one of the highest profile fights of the year earlier at 314 versus Gene Silva. And it was one of the most epic build-ups to a fight in recent memory. But when they got in there, it just didn't go how Bryce thought it would. Bryce had some moments. You could even argue he was winning the first round until those guillotines toward the end of the round. But it seemed like he didn't have the firepower, and it was kind of inevitable he'd get caught. In the second, he kind of was melted. He said that the guillotine really took a lot out of him, and he shot in, he got choked out. Maybe he felt the size difference in there. That's why now he's dropping down to 135. And if he can make the weight, be healthy, it could be a good decision for Bryce. Bryce is still only 30 years old, so if he can keep his head on right, improving, he has a chance to stay around the top for a while. But if he loses this fight, that would be 3 losses in his last 4. Probably put him in a do-or-die position in his next fight. But Said Nurmagomedov, super skilled Daggy fighter, 7 wins under his belt at the UFC, and he's looking to jumpstart his career again, though. He was 6-1 in the UFC when he fought Jonathan Martinez in March of 2023. He was on a 4-fight win streak. He was a 2-1 favorite, but Martinez beat him, and since then he just hasn't really fought that often or got it going. He fought one time against Nguyen Gafrov, got a quick sub, but then he returned in February after over a year layoff, fought Vinicius Oliveira, who we all see what Oliveira's been doing recently, and lost a decision there. Really similar to the Kyler Phillips fight, where he started off fast, he was landing a lot on Oliveira, but he gassed out and Oliveira controlled him. And you look at Nurmagomedov like Mitchell, he has 2 losses in his last 3. He's 33 years old, so he has to prove he still belongs here. But style-wise, Nurmagomedov, when you give him space, he's exceptional. He's extremely fast. He's an insane amount of weapons. Throws kicks and punches from all angles. His leg dexterity is incredible, so he can throw head kicks from either stance and a variety of different kicks, spin kicks, hook kicks, question mark kicks, side kicks. If you pressure him, he'll get sloppy and leave openings, but he's not an easy guy to track down. He's good at staying mobile when he's fresh, and he's just looking to pull you into crazy shots and knock you out with a one-shot type of technique. I think his body kicks in this fight are going to be something he should attack a lot, but in his UFC losses, he's gotten out-positioned. All of them were decision losses where he started quickly, but then he gassed out. And he got controlled for over 6 minutes by Jonathan Martinez. He got controlled for over 7 minutes against Vinicius Oliveira. When he's tired, he'll just accept being on his back, and he'll also shoot bad takedowns and try to hang out on the single leg, and he's just losing minutes when he's doing that. But the one thing you have to be extremely aware of, and you say this every time a Said fights, are his front chokes. He has one of the best ninja chokes in the game, a lot of different guillotine setups. He has started to rely on it too much, though. I think hitting 3 of them from 2022 to 2023 gave him a lot of confidence, and you see him shooting so many guillotines now, and he hasn't been hitting them in recent fights. But I would stick to upper body takedowns if I'm fighting Said. Don't even put yourself in that position. And, he's super skillful, Said, but it seems like he's aging out a little bit. He's still good, but I don't see him getting better as he gets older. He's a finisher bust kind of fighter. If he can land a big spin or knee kick on someone coming in and then take them out, snatch the neck, that's how he wins. But 2-3 in decisions in the UFC, and the decision win that he had over Justin Scoggins was very controversial. So he could easily be 1-4 in decisions. He's lost his last 2 fights that went to the scorecards. Bryce Mitchell, underrated striker. He's southpaw. He has pretty good technique. I mean, straight lefts, kicks, footwork. His defense is decent. He just doesn't have the power. It can struggle to keep guys off him, and that's where his wrestling timing and grappling come into play. Because against a guy like Said, who's going to be hanging on the outside, Mitchell is going to have to fight different. I mean, he can't use his technical offense from the outside to try to pull Said to takedowns. He's going to have to be aggressive and pressure. I've never seen him do that in a fight. I think it could be hard for him, but if he can get on top, he has a good chance to win for sure. He just needs to rely on mistakes from Saeed to get the takedowns, and I think if he can keep the pressure on Saeed, he could eventually time it and get on top. And Bryce is extremely dominant from the top position. If he gets on top of Saeed and avoids that front choke attack, he's going to be able to potentially finish him. Both these guys get tired, though. I mean, Mitchell in his loss, his gas is out as well. You don't know how he's going to react from the 135 cut. This is his first fight outside the United States. Man, I'm going to lean towards Saeed Nurmagomedov in this one, but I think that's a 50-50 fight right there. I would just watch it as a fan for fun, see how Bryce looks at 135, and kind of just adjust from there. But the next fight that we got on the card, Nikita Krylov taking on Bogdan Guskov. And Krylov, he has to win this fight. This is a must-win for him. At one point, I mean, before he had his long layoff, he was looked at as one of the guys that was on the short list to be next for a title shot in the UFC, but he took time off, came back against Dom Reyes, and Dominic Reyes ended his win streak, put him to sleep, and now Krylov is someone that hasn't won in a pretty significant amount of time, coming off of a knockout loss. He has to win this fight to prove that he's still a top guy in the division. If he loses this one, it's going to take a lot for him to work back up into that top 5 type of position that he was in previous. And Bogdan Guskov, you look at him, he lost his UFC debut to Volkan Ozdemir, but he's been able to come back and do good, get some knockout wins. A lot of these fights, he is struggling, and then he's able to come back and get that finish. Like with Ryan Spann, he was getting out grappled, and then he got the knockout. But he still has to prove to me that he has the skill set to compete with the higher level guys. I feel like he relies on his power a little too much. He's not necessarily the most skilled, but this is a perfect matchup for both guys to potentially get a highlight reel. I mean, you look at Bogdan Guskov, one thing I don't really like about him is he holds his hands down totally at his waist, and it's good because he could use that to work his hand speed and kind of come over the top of big hooks, uppercuts, and he's able to time you coming in, and that's exactly what he has to do versus Krylov. Krylov is someone that likes to hang on the outside, throw kicks, and then blitz in. And when he blitzes in, he's coming in with multi-punch combinations, and he's either hitting you on the chin or he's using that initial, blitz of a couple shots to then level change under it and take you down. And he's tricky because he's always moving, he's throwing kicks, and even though he looks hittable, and he is hittable, when you do try to hit him, he's going to look to take you down. And then on top of that, if you get lulled and you're kind of like, you don't know what to do, you're standing across from him, he's going to blitz on you and touch your chin. So he's going to move, he's going to try to lull you to get kind of impatient and stand still, and then he's going to blitz in and either take you down or hit you with a big 1-2 combination, hit you with some kicks. And one thing I like about Nikita potentially in this fight on the feet is Bogdan does a lot of dipping his head, man. I mean, I watched that in multiple fights where he's dipping his head over and over, and he has his hands down. Krylov throws a lot of really nice head kicks, man. I mean, I would not be shocked at all to see Krylov head kick this guy. But the path of least resistance for Krylov is pretty simple. He has to go in there and get the takedown, and he should be able to take down Bogdan pretty easily. I mean, we saw Billy Ilakina take him down and control his back for almost the whole first with a really sloppy shot in his last fight. And Krylov has good wrestling, man. I mean, not for nothing. If he can get his hands connected, he's going to take you down. He's going to get a big double. And on top, he has good control, and he's effective. And I feel like he can finish Bogdan on top. I just think that Bogdan, he's fast and he has good hands, but unless he just catches Krylov coming in like a Dom Reyes, which I don't think he's as sharp, he's going to lose. I just think Krylov is better in all areas, and I got to go with Krylov inside the distance in this fight. So, next fight we got Asu Almabayev taking on Jose Ochoa. Man, really been going back and forth on this fight because I don't know how anyone could be super confident. I know a lot of people are on the Ochoa side, which I think if you have to bet this fight, you got to bet Asu, man, which maybe I'm off on that. But I'm not touching this fight, honestly. But I just feel like Asu is more proven. Ochoa, yeah, he beat Cody Durden, but Durden's been losing recently. He's kind of gotten older, trying to take a lot of damage. And Ochoa caught him and knocked him out. I mean, he did get taken down and lost the first round by being controlled. But he just hasn't fought anybody that's that good. I mean, yeah, he fought Loner Kavanaugh, and it was a really competitive fight, but it was all striking. This fight with Asam Bayev, it's a totally different matchup. And you look at Ochoa's stance, I mean, he likes to hold his hands down and kind of lean over his front lead leg so he could get you to throw at him and kind of bait you. And he also throws jabs and things like that. And then he's really, really amazing at using upper body movement to slip, rip, pull, counter. He throws nasty combinations. He goes to the body. In the pocket, he looks just so calm and composed and picks his shots so well. He's always throwing more than one. He also has some solid power. So the guy's striking is nasty, but he does leave openings to be hit. He's very reckless. He got rocked bad by Durden in his last fight. Asu has decent boxing. I mean, he needs to believe in his hands and let his hands go a little bit more, because I think that Ochoa is going to be so worried about the takedowns that he could potentially land some strikes. But with that stance that Ochoa has, where he's leaning over his front leg so heavy on the lead leg, and he's kind of just planted, and that lead leg is right there to be grabbed for the single leg. I mean, we saw Durden take him down with the single, and that's Asu Ambayev's takedown, man, that single. So Asu knows that the leg's going to be there for him to take down Ochoa, and if he gets Ochoa down, he's probably going to be able to control him at least 2 rounds. It may be really boring, but Asu, he's going to be moving around. He's going to be looking to feint the level change, come over the top with some punches, and then use that to time the single. And if he can get on top, he's probably going to bank the entire round and control it. And we don't exactly know how good Ochoa really is on his back. If he gets put on his back and cemented there, maybe he'll make a mistake, give Asu his back, and get rear naked choked, or something could happen in that type of fashion. So Ochoa, though, has his ways to win because he has knees up the middle. He has dangerous offense. He's the better striking. We saw Asu Ambayev in his last fight get pressured, and he failed on the takedowns, and he just didn't have enough for Manel Cape to respect him on the feet, and Manel just kind of beat him up. So if Johnson can replicate that, then he's going to get Jose. I've been watching Jose Johnson versus Asu, but yeah, if Jose Ochoa can get that done, man, that would be impressive. But I'm going to lean towards Asu Ambayev by decision. But that fight, I feel like the line's accurate, but I think Asu should be maybe a slightly bigger favorite than he is. But next fight we got here, not going to spend a lot of time on this one. I think Shara is definitely going to win this fight. I mean, Marc-Andre doesn't have the ability to take him down. I don't think if he does take him down, then it could get dicey. But on the feet, Marc-Andre, he wants to dirty box you, clinch you, make it kind of an ugly inside type of fight. Shara's not going to give him that. Shara's going to be kicking, moving, pulling him into strikes. And Marc-Andre's chin is not what it used to be. I think if Shara could land something clean early, he could put him out. So that's my prediction. Shara first round knockout. And co-main event time, Petr Yan versus Marcus McGee. Amazing fight right here. I think it's a huge step up for Marcus McGee, obviously. He's going from fighting someone not in the top 15 to fighting a top 5 guy. I guess Jonathan Martinez maybe was ranked, I'm not sure, but someone that's not like super highly thought of. But now he's taking on a former champion, one of the best bantamweights ever. And man, I mean, it's a great matchup for Petr too, because it's a striker. It's someone that's not going to take him down. They're going to box. And Marcus McGee is pretty much a boxer. I mean, the guy likes to come forward. He's kind of crouched low, and he's good at using his angles, pressuring you, and slipping and ripping with multi-strike combinations. He's really fast. He does a good job keeping his hands high as a high guard, and he'll absorb strikes and then return. He is good at kind of staying in the pocket with you and just staying calm, waiting for his moment. You'll even go to the body as well. But the thing with Marcus McGee is I feel like he could stand there in the pocket a lot and wait for you. And he's definitely a lot more of a counter striker where he's trying to use his speed. And standing in front of Petr Yan, especially with the high guard where your body's exposed, where your legs are exposed, I think that's kind of a silly game plan. I think that McGee has to be a little bit more loose in this fight. He can't rely on reflexes only to sit in the pocket and move his head and then return with strikes on Yan, because Yan, unlike other guys in the division, is going to rip his body up. I think that's going to be a major factor in this fight, Petr Yan's body attacks. And if these guys are in the pocket just exchanging boxing combinations, I think Petr Yan is just going to get the better of that. Petr Yan has the sickest combinations in the division. He is probably the best boxing in the UFC. And if you give him a pocket fight, he's going to win that 9 times out of 10. That's what Marcus McGee is going to bring here. Marcus McGee has the firepower, but when have we ever seen Petr Yan really in trouble with strikes? It's not like he has had issues in that manner. He's fought some of the heaviest hitters in the weight class. I think that Petr, if he wants, can mix in takedowns too, like he did against Yadong Song. We haven't seen Marcus McGee really have to fight a wrestler in the UFC, but his grappling is a little bit suspect. We don't know exactly the level that it's at. I think Petr could exploit him on the ground or at least get takedowns and dominate if he surprises Marcus McGee with that game plan. But I see the Marcus McGee love this week, and I just don't really get it. I just think this is Petr's fight. I think he's going to dominate here. They're giving him a step down in competition because he wants to stay active, stay busy, and I think that he's going to take advantage of it and get a dominant victory. So Petr Yan, I'm going to say he wins 30-26. And next fight we got on the card, Robert Whittaker taking on RDR, Renier de Ritter. And really cool matchup here. Obviously, Robert Whittaker, former UFC champion. His Hall of Fame status has been secured for years, but he still feels he's got more to accomplish. He's becoming a fan favorite in the Middle East. I mean, this should feel like almost home to him now with this being his third fight in a row in this region. But he became the undisputed champ at 27. He was actually, and still is, the youngest middleweight champion of all time. And that's why he's still only 34 at this time. But his title run kind of got fucked. I mean, he had a lot of health issues. He fought Yoel in his one, you could call it a title defense, but it's not an official defense because Yoel missed weight. And then he had another long layoff, had some health issues, fought Izzy, and lost his belt. And then since then, he's kind of became the ultimate gatekeeper. He's been able to turn back a plethora of young, hungry, young up-and-comers, and now he's back in that same position. I mean, his losses, he got another crack to fight Izzy. He lost that one. Then he lost to DDP, who is the current champion. And then his last fight, arguably the worst performance of his UFC career, got taken down, got beasted in under 4 minutes, but he was defending fairly well. And the choke wasn't technical or anything. It was just the teeth injury that cost him the fight. But hopefully he's 100% now and we'll see a vintage raw performance. And with Renier de Ritter, he's taken the UFC by storm. He's already getting a crack at a legend. He's not been in the UFC for even a year, but he's 3-0 with 3 solid victories. Finished all 3 of those fights. His last 2 fights, he dominated hyped guys. He beat RDR, kicked him down, or he beat Kevin Holland, kicked him down to welterweight, and then he beat Bo Nickel, gave him his first 0. And his UFC debut at GM3 was actually a difficult fight for him. GM3 actually did a good job, but RDR ended up coming back and submitting him late. This is the first main event for RDR in the UFC, but in one championship, he competed in 6 fights that were scheduled for 5 rounds. He only went 25 minutes once, but he has a lot of experience training for 25-minute fights. A win over Rob has been a golden ticket to a UFC title for everyone that's beaten him. Israel obviously beat him in a title fight. DDP beat him, became the undisputed champion in his next fight. And now Hamza is in the same position to become the undisputed champ if he can beat DDP. So if RDR beats Whittaker, he's probably going to be in line for a title shot next. But it's easier said than done. And you look at Robert Whittaker, his striking is absolutely phenomenal. He's amazing at not wasting movement, and that's why he never gets tired. You see fighters who are super fast in and out like Robert Whittaker, and they want to bounce around a lot, show their speed, try to probe, be active with big feints. Whittaker just stands right in the center. He gives subtle feints. He's hands down believing in his eyes, reflexes. He stays active with leg kicks, body kicks occasionally. And fighters do throw or start to move towards him, then you'll see that foot speed and ability of Robert to slide in and out. And Whittaker will start off fights mostly throwing jabs and crosses on the counter. He'll show his speed, ability to blitz in, blitz out, slip and return. And he's excellent at going to the body with jabs and straights, feigning his level, and then coming over the top with the left hand or the right hand. His distance control is exceptional. And when fighters realize he's so difficult to hit, they could just stand there and not do much. And that's when Robert can really start to pick him apart. If you can use leg kicks to slow Whittaker, force Whittaker to go first by pressuring him to the fence, you can catch him. And Whittaker has some knockouts in the UFC. He has his 1-2 head kick, which is legendary, but his only knockout win since 2017 was against Ikram Aliskarov. So most of the time he's winning decisions. His biggest attribute is his quickness and his blitz. The speed in which he can close the distance is just amazing, and he's good at changing up his blitz attacks. And he doesn't waste movement, like I said, so keeps his speed power for the full fight. As fighters slow down, Rob picks it up, and people have talked about Robert's durability for years now, and he has been rocked. He's taken a lot of damage, but he's one of these guys that could get hurt, recover, and come back and win. I mean, he's done that against Paulo Costa, Darren Till, Yoel Romero. He did it against Jared Cannonier. So he's been stopped with strikes 3 times, but you have to really put him out, and it's not easy. The one thing that is the biggest question mark for Robert Whittaker, even after all his years being in the cage, is his grappling. We know Robert has good wrestling because he's shown it off, and he wrestled for Australia. I believe he is a black belt, but we haven't really seen him threaten offensive submissions. And the times that we've seen him on his back recently, like versus DDP and versus Chimaev, he didn't look good. DDP beat him up bad, passed his guard, finished him with punches after dropping him in round 2. Whittaker was taken down within 20 seconds versus Chimaev, and then Chimaev was almost immediately on his back. And Whittaker did do a good job for a while. He was using the fence to post. He was working back up to his knees. He was blocking both hooks from getting in. But after about a couple minutes of defending, Chimaev did fully get the back. And Whittaker actually was able to scramble him back to his feet one time. But Chimaev immediately got back on top almost like within a second. And he got to the back again, got that face crank position. And I do think the injury was the major reason for the tap, but Chimaev absolutely dominated from top position. That was the first time Whittaker's been submitted since 2011, and so obviously he's not an easy guy to finish on the ground, but if RDR could get him there, Renier is one of those guys that has the technique and talent to finish Whittaker on the ground. But Renier de Ridder, super awkward fighter. He's huge for the weight division. He's one of the tallest fighters in the weight class. And even though he's a tall guy, he's not long and skinny. He has a solid reach, but he's also strong, big, filled out. On the feet, he's not very fast, but he hits hard. He throws a lot of kicks. He'll try to use his height. He'll pull back to avoid punches. That does worry me a little bit against a head kicker, but and someone that could extend combinations and close the distance quickly. But RDR is looking to use his kicks to force guys to come to him so he can grab them. And then he has good clinch strikes. He has nice knees, nice elbows. He's hurt guys in the clinch in multiple fights. And he doesn't have the best footwork, but he's super tall. He's willing to absorb strikes, kind of just walk you down and maul you. This fight, he's going to have to catch Robert with something awkward when Robert is sliding away or feels he's out of range, I feel like. If he can't do that, he's going to be easily outspeeded, hit a lot, and I think leg kicked. His last fight with Bo Nickel kind of just dirty boxed him, need him to deliver, and then ended the fight. But it's not going to be as easy against a guy like Whittaker who's moving so much. But Ritter's wrestling is decent. He loves that outside trip. He has decent takedowns in the clinch in general. Kill time, singles, doubles. He's pretty relentless. He just isn't super explosive. Can be kind of easy to see the takedowns at times, but when Ritter does get in top position, he's super dangerous. He's always looking to finish. He has 14 submission wins. He's finished his last 6 victories in a row. He looked pretty exhausted in his fight with GM3, and GM3 was also tired though, and he bailed out Ritter by shooting a bad takedown, letting Ritter get on top, and then Ritter found the arm triangle. But the first 2 rounds, Ritter was really unable to wrestle GM3 effectively or control him, so it was a bad mistake by GM3 to push the wrestling, and RDR made him pay for it. But Ritter's second UFC fight was smooth sailing. I mean, he got in, got out. He got a single leg in the first 10 seconds against Kevin Holland. Holland was playing jiu-jitsu on his back. It was a major mistake, and Ritter just easily got into dominant position and submitted him. If he wins this fight, I think it's going to be within the first 3 rounds. I don't trust his cardio at all. The last 2 times he's gone to round 3, he's looked gas. Although he still got it done versus GM3, he was tired. And if he can't take down and finish Robert, I think he's going to gas hard. He also has quitted him. We've seen him quit against Malukin. But with Bo Nickel, I mean, there's a lot of scrambling, and RDR is the bigger, more experienced guy. He outlasted Bo. Whittaker, he's not going to be engaging in the grappling like that with RDR, so I don't think it's going to be as easy for RDR to get the top position. And if he does, though, I do think Whittaker's weak off his back, so that's where RDR has to go to try to expose Whittaker, is taking him down. But I think it's going to be easier said than done. I'm leaning Whittaker here. I just think the speed footwork difference is apparent. Whittaker also has a major cardio and experience advantage in my eyes. If he could be patient, pick his shots, which he normally always does, defends a few takedowns early, I think he could take over and find a finish down the stretch. So I'm going to say round 3, round 4, maybe even round 5 KO TKO finish for Robert Whittaker. If RDR is to get it done, I think it's going to be within the first 2-3 rounds. So I do think this fight is not going to go the distance. And there you have it, guys. That's a full card breakdown for UFC UAE. UFC on ABC 9, Whittaker versus Ritter. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something. As far as the parlay of the week on this card, I'm going to do a parlay of the week of Shara Bullets, Buchecha, and Steven Nguyen. So that's going to be the parlay of the week that I give you guys for this card. My most confident pick is going to be... I would say, I guess, my most confident pick is Buchecha. So, thanks for watching, guys. Or, actually, I'll say my most confident pick is Shara Magomedov. My bad. So, I'm confident in both those guys, though. But yeah, so there you have it, guys. Hit the like button on this video. Let's try to get as many likes as possible. I'd really appreciate that. Put a comment down below. If you want to go to patreon.com/everypitchguru, check out what I got going over there. Go check that out. Stay locked into the channel. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. We do this every week. And besides that, man, I'm out. See you later.